TOMz.
Hey yo, fera, who's that? Zikipani. A warm welcome to everybody. Lapha Makai, Obugelele Stepule Sigana. If you don't know, Lena guess Ibizang teenagers on a mission right here on your number one channel, SABC Mzansi for sure. Now, before to go to this is the biggest and the best science and technology show in the continent.
True that, and with CADDY pronounced Caddy, as well as me, Ubuntu, is bringing you guys a jam-packed episode namhlanje, one that will definitely grow on you.
Yes, so Ubuntu bafethu bakhuluma ngokukhula, akakhulumi ngenywele. Ubuntu is talking about plants. That is sikhuluma ngetopic iserious kakhulu namhlanje.
Specifically GMOs, aka genetically modified organisms. Does it not sound like some space movie?
Maybe, I don't know about that. Abafethu kubalekile ukusazi ngama-GMOs because they surround us and we don't even notice.
True that. Okay guys, let's get straight into it. Let's go.
Abantu have modified crops for thousands of years to create tastier and larger foods. Commercial GMO foods emerged in the 1990s to withstand various factors such as disease, drought, and pesticides. As our planet's population continues to grow, the need for genetically modified seeds and foods increases. Kodwa kahle kahle imiphi imithelela lama genetically modified organisms anawo? And futhi ngabe asilungele na? Since abantu began growing in agriculture 12,000 years ago, abelimi have always wanted to create the perfect crop. The future of genetically modified organisms has more to offer us than we can ever imagine. We share some fun facts in our Did You Know segment.
So speaking about bafethu kule part eniyithanda kakhulu where we talk to you guys via our social media pages. Ukhumbule bafethu ukuthi if you want to communicate with us, pretty simple. Ngena ku Facebook, ngena ku Twitter, so they see that. So we asked you a question bafethu Sati, what does GMO stand for? And this is what you guys had to say. Spethu ukutlwano ati yana genetically modified organisms. Well done. Spethu no lebuhang toteti ati genetically modified organisms. Okay. Spethu futhi no siyabonga ati genetically modified organisms. Well done to everyone bafethu. Nithole right le answer. Let's keep the conversation going. All you have to do is communicate with us on our social media pages. On Facebook, see TOMz, and on Twitter, see TOMz_SABC_1. We love hearing from you. Karamai asamsabono what's going down in the streets.
Yes, bafethu, we are hitting the streets one more time. Everyone, namhlanje sivakashele the Braamfontein, the hub of Johannesburg. What does it mean to be genetically modified?
It means you don't exist in a natural environment. You were made in a controlled laboratory environment.
Scientifically, obviously they're going to contribute in order to feed society, but I feel it's a capitalist game. GMO, genetically modifying foods to feed the masses, but it's a capitalist game from my point of view.
What is climate change?
Climate change is the drastic weather of the patterns of the weather around the world.
Climate change is when you can't predict weather patterns anymore because they fluctuate a bit.
The world is always changing all the time. Same thing with the environment.
Do you think that the world is running out of food?
Definitely yes, because if you look at climate change, the patterns that are changing. So where there was too much rainfall, now there's no rainfall. Where there was drought, there's rainfall. So our seeds are not growing as the way they were before climate change.
Go to a shop, you buy a green pepper, it must look like a green pepper. But if it happens that the farmers have 100 green peppers and 30 of them look a bit odd, or oddly shaped, they have a bit of spots, they're not going to sell it to you because it's not really sellable, and then it goes to waste. So that food there is still edible, has the same nutritional value, but it just gets discarded. So yes, we do have more than enough food.
We are determined to keep you guys glued to your screens. You know, I to get into GMOs.
Each GMO, genetically modified organism, is a plant, animal, or other organism which has its genetic makeup modified within a laboratory using genetic engineering or technology. Now, look when also science take a specific trait that they want from one organism and transfer that into another organism. Wild mustard, for example, has been bred into amakabishi, Brussels, sprouts, cauliflower, turnip, radish, broccoli, and more. For breeders and also science, they have always known which characteristics they want to place in their plants. Now, through e-technology, this is now possible to acquire the genes one desires and produce these in plants with greater precision. Since the beginning of human agriculture 12,000 years ago, abelimi already started improving their crop strength, resistance to pests, and taste. Ngonyaka 1901, the company Monsanto becomes the new enemy of the world through manufacturing Roundup, a highly toxic herbicide, in 1974. In 1996, Monsanto introduces Roundup-ready seeds in the form of soybeans, corn, cotton, and other crops which are engineered to tolerate its Roundup herbicide. Our genetically modified crops were first introduced in the US in the mid-1990s, with corn, soybeans, and cotton engineered for insect resistance and herbicide tolerance.
Whoever knew that this would be possible? Buntu, modified, yeah?
I mean, I had the slightest idea. With technology taking over the world, anything is possible, really. What do you guys think about this topic here, GMOs, and how do you think it'll impact the planet in the future? So we are ngok. Welcome back, welcome back, welcome back. So teenagers on a mission right here at SABC 1, where life and TV are one. We are taking you guys in the amazing and fascinating world of GMO.
The modern science and technology have created the ultimate seed, and we are better understanding what are GMOs.
True that. So Dibinake knows Zakia, a representative from the African Center of Biodiversity, also spoke a little bit about this topic.
Without wasting any time, I'm so thankful. Hey yo, what's up? It's your boy CADDY, pronounced Caddy, yet again on another mission running the streets of Johannesburg. I'm trying to kulumang a topic since it touched down at African Center of Biodiversity. Kulumang about genetically modified foods. Without wasting any time, asbangene. Hi, how are you doing?
I'm great. How are you?
I'm great. It's good to be here. Welcome to the show.
Thank you, and thanks for bringing up the subject.
Can you please tell us who you are and what do you do?
I'm Zakia Ismail. I'm an independent associate with the African Center for Biodiversity. The ACB works on issues around food sovereignty, and we do this by looking at what all those elements are that keep us away from that. So that's GMOs, genetically modified organisms, industrial agriculture, corporate control of our food systems, seed laws, and the patenting of foods.
Yes. Okay. Today we're all about GMO foods. Can you please tell us more about that? Give us an introduction.
GMO foods are foods where some of the ingredients were produced using genetic modification. And genetic modification is a process of artificially altering the DNA, the genetic makeup of an organism. Basically what this is, we all have, our DNA gives us instructions, how we grow, when we stop growing, how tall, etc., right? Plants have instructions as well, when to go dormant, etc. So GMOs are now where the genetic material and the makeup of the plant has been altered so that it does different things that it wouldn't do normally in nature. And it's taken genetic material out of organisms that are completely unrelated. So like a bacteria.
Yes.
So in nature you'd have maybe two different maize plants that cross-pollinate and you get a third kind, It's artificial because it would never happen in nature because it's always unrelated. These things happen in a lab.
Okay.
Then once they've got successful organisms, then it goes onto farms where there's bulk seed production.
Okay.
And then those seeds are now genetically modified seeds.
Yes.
And these genetically modified seeds get sold to farmers under licensing to plant. So the two really dominant genetic modifications that control our markets and our food systems are something called herbicide tolerant. So we've modified maize and soya or cotton or all the three dominant crops that get genetically modified. We've modified them so that they are able to withstand the spraying of herbicides. Okay, so when a farmer sprays the herbicides, it will kill all the other plants, but these ones will absorb it and not die. Okay? And the second modification is that we've created our plants to have built-in insecticides. So what used to be outside on the top that you washed off is now inside that can't be washed off. So every single cell creates a tiny amount of toxin. And so when when insects eat them, they slowly get sick and they slowly die. And so those are the two big from all the things we could modify. This is what we decided works for us.
Organisms amaningi have their genetic information stored in the form of DNA molecules. Inside a DNA strand, there are a number of encoded amino acids which are the building blocks of proteins. Lama protein lawa carry out many different functions in cells and tissues which are essentially responsible for an organism's characteristics. Due to most life forms on this planet sharing the same DNA language and due to scientific advances, it is now possible to transfer a gene from one species to another. Now this cell will start to divide and these resulting cells will take one specialized functions until they become a whole plant.
Now, the idea of GMOs, why were they created?
I think when it's a natural progression from this current food system, which is in war against nature, right? And then there was also advancements in understanding and being able to isolate pieces of DNA that tell you what to do and how to do it and how the organism to grow. As soon as they figured out how to identify them and how to extract them, I think the next thing was like, how do we make this now profitable? And everybody needs to eat, so let's play around with some of the large crops that get used, which is maize and soya, and so that's where a lot of the research and funding went into. So it is privately funded, not for public benefit, basically. Yeah. And then I think because of very strong lobbying by the biotechnology companies who had already evolved from being chemical companies, they managed to get a lot of regulations, ease of regulations. So it got easily approved because they kept insisting that, it's substantially equivalent. So if you look at a GM maize plant and a conventional maize plant, you can't tell the difference. If you taste it, you can't tell the difference. It looks the same, tastes the same, smells the same. It's the same thing, but it's not because it's so easy to test for. We have labs, they unique proteins that you can't see. So using those kinds of arguments and also saying that, oh, look, we're providing solutions to feeding human beings. They managed to get it into regulations, international regulations, and now it's just part of our food system.
Now the show is all about facts. So as Kubeka spoken on our social media pages.
Yes, please let us know what you think about GMOs. So we are going to TOMz.
And just like that, we are back on your screens, my favorite. Let's get teenagers on a mission right here on your number one channel, SABC One in Zanzi, for sure. I'm talking all about genetically modified organisms. So serious, my favorite. So Nina got finish at the panty, my man. So ever since coming on the topic, you didn't do about GMOs.
I think all this time. I mean, the food that I'm eating has been modified to taste, look, and feel a different way. Fascinating, though.
Right? That's why the fair is coming again. No Zakia as Kasalamanzi about GMOs. Let's go back. So this seems like it's very important to us when it comes to human nature. Why do you think this is such a controversial debate?
I mean, the first thing is it's like a false solution to a misrepresented problem. So we have world hunger. We have lots of people going hungry. And then these companies are saying we'll increase the food supply. But we don't have a problem with food supply. There's enough food for every single person on this planet. In fact, there's more than enough food. We have a problem with access to food. So right now, our supermarket shelves are full. Okay? But if you don't have money, you can't have that. It's not like there's a problem that we all have money and we're standing in lines and there's no food. That's food shortage. This is lack of access to food. And so their solution is to a problem that doesn't exist. And their solution is saying, okay, so people can't access food. Let's restrict access even more. Now farmers can't access seeds. And so it affects all our small farmers because now they have to compete in a very unequal system. It affects farm workers because now there's less work for them. It undermines our land reform efforts.
Yes.
Because, the one argument would be, you're going to do land reform, but our system doesn't lend itself to small farmers. And so it would undermine that. And it, takes away control of communities in how they feed themselves, what they feed themselves, how they're able to access food.
Yes.
Also, there's real concerns around what is this doing. Well, we've released now a novel protein, a novel trait into our food system. So if you think about it, this protein has been changed so much that as living organisms, we know how to process foods in a certain way. The body's, nature's design that, you know what a maize plant is, etc. Now we're processing foods of organisms that are unrelated, that are mixed. Okay. So how safe is this?
Yes.
Surely before you put this into the food supply, you have to be 100% safe that people, babies, old people, sick people eat these things, right? So now there is no long-term studies around those things. And there is also a suffocation of independent studies on looking at these effects. Scientists, it's like career suicide to independently do these kinds of tests. But the few that have happened have shown us tumors on rats, stomach inflammation, increased size of uterus, etc. So the indicators are there. But legally, the governments require a 90-day study. So it's like smoking. If you smoke for 90 days, it's not going to show up that you're going to be sick in the long term.
Yep.
It's the same with GMOs. In 90 days, it's like, let's look in a place where we'll never find problems.
The technology behind engineering genetically modified seeds is found in two methods. I-method yokuqala was a gene which was inserted into a seed through a gene gun, in which microscopic pellets of gold or tungsten are coated with the preferred DNA and shot at a very high velocity into plant cells or tissues. A second method is to involve using bacteria, which in nature transfer their DNA into plants, causing it disease. Genetic engineers have taken advantage of this DNA transfer mechanism and have disarmed the disease-causing properties of these bacteria and replaced them with the desired DNA they want to transfer.
Okay, so Monsanto, tell us more about it.
Monsanto is now a biotechnology company. Their roots are in pharmaceutical chemicals and chemical warfare, industrial chemicals, right? So things like saccharine and aspartame, like these artificial sweeteners that used to be in our drinks, that we thought were awesome, and then we discovered many deaths later. Oh, these things are actually making us sick. Yeah, so that came from them. PCBs. The chemical Agent Orange that was used in Vietnam, that came from them with another company. The good fight has to happen at multiple levels. There's the individual level, there's the systemic level. How we shop when we can. Not everybody has those options. So the people who can must fight for those who can't. So to not buy those products, but to also tell companies, hey, look, I'm buying this other product because it doesn't have any genetically modified organisms or foods in them. And to keep pushing up back against companies. Also to push back against, at a systemic level, against government. Every time there's an opportunity to participate in the process and application process, to send in objections and to just regularly do that on a consistent level. And then we all, those of us who know, also need to share with those of us who don't know. And with awareness comes solutions. I think once people feel like they have this information and they know they have the power to make changes, however small, every little bit, makes some difference. that would be the good fight. Yeah.
Thank you so much. Otherwise, Ntwana, I hope you guys have learned a lot about genetically modified food. Ntwana, we have a bright future. Let's make sure to have a greener and healthier future. That's where we end our mission. Your boy CADDY pronounced Caddy is out of here.
Ubuwazi ukuthi all patata are actually modified food that was bred some 8,000 years ago from the swollen parts of potato roots. Ubuwazi futhi ukuthi plants such as strawberries, wheat, amakabishi, and corn are all modified over thousands of years and are nothing like their ancestors. Ubuwazi ukuthi more than 60 countries in the world have heavy restrictions or bans on the production of GMOs, including Australia, Japan, and all countries in the EU. Ubuwazi futhi ukuthi more than 80% of all GMOs are designed for herbicide tolerance. And did you know that GMOs are not just found in your food, but in care products, supplements, cotton sheets, towels, and even baby diapers?
With the unstoppable need to sustain a growing population, indaba genetically modified organisms have become recognized for their capabilities. Masike sibone ke ba ingomso ye-GMOs ithini.
Potential future technology will include nutritional enhancements, stress tolerance, disease resistance, biofuel productivity, and reducing polluted areas. GMs may possibly hold a big advantage for developing countries where there is not enough food to feed abantu and could help in alleviating future malnutrition. Also, scientists have turned to genetically modifying ilwane, creating disease-resistant pigs, bird flu-resistant chickens, hornless dairy cows, and highly productive sheep. New technology is constantly emerging that is aiming to improve the ways in which genetically modified organisms are created. Whatever the future holds for genetically modified crops, there will always be complicated scientific, environmental, legal, cultural, and ethical issues surrounding these crops and debated globally.
What way you look at it, so GMOs could be bad, could be good. It's a matter
of potato.
Yeah.
Guys, this marks the end of Inkweti and Understanding. It really saddens us to say, but if you do want to, you can visit www.sabceducation.co.za/TOMZ to know more about us.
Yes, come on Facebook on social media. We are live and kicking 24/7 on Facebook. See TOMZ and on Twitter. TOMz_SABC_1.
This is so sad.
See you after the show, guys. Bye-bye.
The making of TV next time on. Namhlanje sola kabanzi about what it takes to produce a music video yakho. We also check out the history about filmmaking. Finally, we look at what the future holds for the filming industry.
TOMZ every Thursday and Friday at 2:30 in the afternoon. More SABC, what? Mzansi for show.